My name's Elena Campbell. I'm the Executive Director for the Orion Area Chamber of Commerce, and it's my pleasure to welcome you here this snowy morning. A little bit disappointed, I think, when I looked out the window this morning. I have to admit, I am done with the snow and done with the cold weather, as I'm sure most of you are as well. This is our second annual workplace emergency preparedness training. Last year when we held this training, it happened to be right after a tragic event that took place at Sandy Hook Elementary. This year, it follows some rather bad weather that we had here in Lake Orion 2 days ago with the storm that came through, and then yesterday with the high winds, and we still have many people without power. And I think it just points to the fact as to why it's important to be prepared. The more prepared we are, obviously, the better we are able to handle situations like these when they occur in our community. I would really like to thank the Orion Center for all of their work setting up this morning. Thank all of our sponsors that we have for this event, in particular Orion Neighborhood Television for filming this for us so that we can make it available more widely. Orion Township, of course, Oakland County Sheriff, and of course our own Orion Township Fire Department. And in particular Penny Schultz too, for all of her work in coordinating this. We really appreciate it. Just a couple of things about the Chamber that I wanted to point out that we have coming up. On Thursday, May 8th, we have our 10th annual Community Business Expo. It takes place at Lake Orion High School during parent-teacher conferences. We have about 1,000 people that come through the event. Last year we had 110 businesses who exhibited at the event. There's information back on the table back there, a brochure that looks like this. And if you are not a member of the Chamber, we would welcome you to join our growing organization. We now have more than 300 members. We have doubled in size in the last couple of years, and we have a lot to offer our local businesses and organizations. There's further information back on the tables that is very useful that you can pick up. And also, please feel free to get up and help yourself to the wonderful pastries from Great Harvest. Bread, I believe, one of our wonderful chamber members, and coffee as you need it. It is now my pleasure to introduce one of the Chamber's Board of Directors and our Township Supervisor, Chris Barnett.
Morning, everybody. Happy spring, kind of. Welcome to the Orion Center, our quasi emergency operations center here, as we are experiencing winter part 2 and recovering from some pretty devastating storms that hit our region this weekend. I'm going to have the opportunity just to talk to you for a few minutes about how we handle emergency operations here in Orion Township. And we've got a little bit of practice in the last couple days here. Fire Chief is sitting in the front row, Bob Smith, if you could raise your hand. He hasn't been sleeping much the last few days since Saturday night. So Saturday night, I was in line doing what everybody should be doing in April, getting ice cream at Eva's. And Eva's has just opened, and that's the official start of spring in Orion Township. And I just had received this alert on my phone, which I would encourage most of you, or all of you, if you have a smartphone, to download. There are some really good tools out there. The one tool that's on my phone is the weather app, and if you set your home area in the app, it actually will give you these alerts. So my daughter Sydney and I were eating dinner, and I got this alert at about 20 minutes to 8 that said severe thunderstorm alert for my zip code until 8 p.m. That's strange because we're driving to get ice cream and the sky looks perfect. Fast forward about 10 minutes and we were just about ready to order our ice cream, and the craziest thing happened. The sky turned like a weird color, almost brown, and I think there was a lot of dirt flying in the air, and then the next thing you know, we were hit pretty hard by this storm. And So why in the world am I telling you about Eva's ice cream and this crazy storm? Because what happened next was kind of our Orion Township's quick response. We had quite a bit of damage. Who's been around and seen the damage in the community? Yeah, most of you. What happened next is quick response by our first responders, which would be our Sheriff's Department and our Fire Department and the Lake Orion Village Police. Then we also subsequently opened up this building. Last night we opened up this building for those people that are still without power. I've been dealing with Mike Pelchesko, who's a regional director for DTE, in coordinating their efforts here in Orion Township and trying to keep people posted. And one of the things that we have this day and age, I see the ham radio crew out there, but one of the things we have this day and age is social media, which is very powerful. I keep a little Facebook page, and I brought my phone up here to kind of give you an interesting piece of information. So I've been posting updates on my Facebook page and the Orion Township Facebook page just to kind of keep people in the loop and updated on what's going on and how we're responding here in Orion Township. And yesterday at 4:35 p.m. I posted this update that we still have around 7,000 without power. More crews are coming from out of state to help rebuild the infrastructure. We had some entire circuits get wiped out on the DTE grid. And then I told us that tonight we're keeping the Orion Center open until 11 p.m. We'll bring a trailer of ice and water on site and blah, blah, blah. Just giving an update. Here's the interesting thing and why I'm sharing this with you right now. Since 4:30 last night, 9,892 people have seen that post. That's pretty powerful. We also had on our public access channel, there's a crawl on the bottom of the screen like you'd see on SportsCenter or CNN. And so we were crawling that information as well as saying, hey, come to the Orion Center. We're open. We have water. We have electricity. Charge your phone up. So that's one of the things that's one of the reasons we built this beautiful building. Obviously to have great events and informational events like this, but also when we're in crisis in our community, we can open up this building for a number of reasons. So we're working on the best way, and we're working on how do we staff this building when we are in situations. And yesterday was a good practice round for us. We didn't have a lot of people come utilize the building, but we were open. So with that, without our great partners at the county, we would have been in bigger trouble than what we actually were, because they give us amazing support. The miracle of the storm on Saturday, with the extensive property damage, power lines down everywhere, roofs literally ripped off houses. There were actually, our fire department received 0 calls for storm-related injuries. Now, I'm sure there's been injuries since the cleanup efforts related to the cleanup, but the actual storm that wreaked so much havoc, we had no injuries, which is, I don't know if you are religious or not. I am. That is an absolute miracle, seeing some of the damage that's out there. Immediately when we have an incident like this, we get in contact with Oakland County, and they have what they call Oakland County Homeland Security. And it's my pleasure to introduce you to the next person that's going to talk to us today to give us an update on Homeland Security. It's Mike Loper. Mike Loper has been with Oakland County for 14 years. He has a military background, and he is a retired police officer from the Atlanta area. So please join me in welcoming Mike Loper, who will talk to us a little bit about what happens at the county level and how they support us here in Orion Township. Thanks, Mike.
Well, thank you very much for having me here today, and I'm here to say that I hope you recover really, really soon. I know you're working on that, and we feel for you. You did get hit the hardest of anywhere throughout the southeast Michigan. The storm actually came in through western and central Michigan and came across, and there was a severe thunderstorm warning that went into effect. And some of that message and what you can do to better prepare for that is going to be part of the chief's message here pretty soon. Oakland County Homeland Security is the county's emergency management office for Oakland County, and part of that multi-agency coordination system that engages the state and federal agencies if the disaster becomes a state of emergency or state of disaster. That you might have heard that terminology before. I want to promote our 24-hour emergency operations center phone number, 248-858-5300. that is something that would have been activated. Matter of fact, Steve Iannucci, a partner of mine, retired Detroit police lieutenant, was on duty Saturday. He got called in when the storms were in Shiawassee County, and he activated to the County Emergency Operations Center, monitoring the weather and talking to the National Weather Service. He would have also been talking with the Skywarn spotters and the amateur radio operators, but I recognize several of them in the room. First of all, real quick, when you're talking about disasters and emergency situations that could occur, we call them hazards. And we want you to prepare for certain hazards or understand the hazards that could occur in your community, but not get hung up on them. Obviously, it's severe weather, whether it's winter storms, as we surely experienced in the past 6 months, and spring and summer storms like occurred here recently. Flooding that could occur and is occurring in other parts of Michigan because of rivers and ice flow melt. Hazardous material incidents and gas and pipelines. You have several gas pipeline situations in Orion Township in this area. Some of them are very large. If you remember several years ago, the incident over by the Oakland Township border, there's no mercapin, the smell is not there because it's a transmission line. Public health emergencies, weapons of mass destruction and terrorism, and of course school violence. And that was mentioned that absolutely we were here last year talking about workplace security and active shooter situations, and we were actually at Lake Orion schools in December 2012 at the invitation of the school superintendent and the Oakland County Sheriff Department and Orion Township Fire Departments. We were doing active shooter training with the superintendent and principals and administrators of the Lake Orion school systems, and it was a week before Sandy Hook. I want you to know how proactive your local responders and your local leadership is, and that's something I really want to focus on for about just a minute. I've known Dan Toth, the lieutenant here, the substation commander, for about 10, 12 years. I knew him as a sergeant in the Oakland County Sheriff Department dive team, dive rescue operations. And when he went to was promoted to lieutenant and went to the jail and corrections operations is very, very important. It's a large system, a very important system, but I couldn't wait for him to get out into a substation and become involved in the community because of how proactive he is. And when I heard he went to Orion, I was very, very pleased to hear that. I met Bob Smith, your fire chief, soon after the September 11th, 2001 attacks, when we geared up the hazardous materials response team in Oakland County Northern, and he was proactive in that and has been ever since. And when I heard he was going to be and rightly should have been the Orion Township Fire Chief, I was very, very pleased, and so was everybody in our office. When we talk about what you should do for emergencies and disaster situations, it's a phased or a continuous cycle. What we are doing right now is continuing to prepare. At the same time, you're recovering from an incident that occurred here a couple days ago. So that's very unusual. Usually we talk about something like this and it happens a week or two later. I did a presentation like this in the village of Holly, 2003-ish, and told them they should be prepared for train derailments and train hazard material incidents. And they said, oh, well, it couldn't happen here. I said, well, have you looked at your downtown with CSX and CNN coming together in downtown? And a week later, there was a train derailment with hazard materials just north of town. And if you remember, in that April of 2003, there was also an ice storm, which knocked out power for Orion Township for 4 to 5 days. So it has been worse here. It has been worse. It's hard to imagine after all the damage and impact you've had here in the past couple of days, but it has been worse. Vigilance and resiliency. Your resiliency. How you be resilient is to be prepared and have a great leadership, such as your township supervisor and your first responders, and to have a facility just like this. This facility is so great. I have been talking to your first responders. We are going to do a survey of this building as well as a school nearby to make sure it's Red Cross and ADA compliant to be used as an emergency evacuation shelter or cooling center or warming center, which is supported by the county. Our emergency management system, if it was, and I guarantee we were on duty on Saturday and ready to respond and available to help you conduct damage assessment and seek state and federal assistance if necessary. That system starts at the local level, stays at the local level. You get to respond, and when the state and feds go home, you're still here, all right? That system goes through the county Emergency Operations Center, the EOC. That is activated. It's partially activated or fully activated. Saturday night it was partially activated, and through Monday morning, and it's still activated at the state emergency operation level, but they're because there's storms in about multiple counties, and there's flooding going on from the same system. This system doesn't work if municipal government and municipal systems and the local business community and volunteers and faith-based organizations don't come together in what we call the whole community approach to emergency management and be part of the solution, be part of that solution. Because to be honest with you, only 1%, 99% of all emergencies and disaster situations are solely handled at the local level, maybe with mutual aid, maybe with faith-based organizations kicking in some assistance like I know what's going on here, maybe with DTE Energy and working with the utilities. He mentioned Mike Pelchichka. We have a seat for him on our EOC, so I know that guy very well. The Emergency Management Act in Michigan, Public Act 390, describes this relationship and describes this responsibility at the county level and for the local municipality. I'm here to tell you, several years ago, we were a little nervous about our emergency operation plans and whether or not the support plans and the agreements in place with Orion Township were effective enough, and the state was giving us warnings that Orion Township may be in jeopardy of not receiving disaster funds if they didn't become more proactive, and they have. The emergency operation plans, the support plans from Bob Smith and others, the leadership here, the use of this facility, putting that in place. Emergency plans are pieces of paper that get filed. It's the concepts and the systems that you put in place, that relationship you have with people. The fact that Dan Toth can call me on my cell phone, Bob Smith can hit me on Facebook, whatever. I know these guys, I've known them for 14, 15 years. I know the next presenter I'm going to introduce here in a few minutes very, very well. And we work well together, all right? And my job is really, really behind the scenes. If you see me in your community, it was because it was a declared state of emergency for Lake Orion Village and Orion Township, and we were about to bring in state and federal people to verify your damage assessment. So you really don't want to see me in your town unless it's an environment like this or a training environment. Otherwise, I'm back at my office continuing to write plans that say how great a job Orion Township is doing, which is what I've been doing for the past couple of years. Incident management, just so you know, these disasters and situations are not handled on a whim. They're handled within a National Incident Management System or Incident Command System, ICS, NIMS. And our level, it's a multi-agency coordination system at the Emergency Operations Center. A big component to this is public information, continuing to educate and keep citizens informed. If he's using social media to advise 9,000 citizens or 9,000 people about this center being open extra hours to provide a place it has a generator power, backup power for use of restrooms and use of to charge your cell phones and get a bottle of water or something like that because you've been without power since Saturday night. That is exceptional. That is good information. It's good policy and procedures. Situational awareness. I'm here to tell you that more people need to have that app or multiple apps ability to get severe weather information via their laptops and computers and mobile devices. All right. 247 WJR, all those TV and radio media outlets, they had received our information. We're also the activation point for the county emergency alert system, EAS. Okay. So we could have pushed those buttons. I'm here to tell you Saturday night that severe thunderstorm warning, which is different from a watch. When the warning went into effect, it was actually closer to 7:30. And it was coming out of Genesee County and northern Livingston County and bearing down on northern Oakland County. And it had been bad. Byron, if you've heard that, Byron School had a middle school with a roof caved in and blown off. Gaines Township had just as many homes with roof damage and stuff as you. You had a bigger impact because of maybe the area, the size area, and so many businesses and so many power lines and stuff like that, power poles knocked down. So you have a lot of more impact. And the storm continued on into Macomb County and caused a lot of power outages there. The flooding and the amount of damage in Midland is much greater than here. But situational awareness, so being aware that there's a thunderstorm warning into effect And it was very specific for Oakland County, for northern Oakland County, and moving east at a very fast pace. Part of what we would be involved in, besides damage and impact assessment and requesting state and federal assistance, will be helping you if you establish this place as an evacuation center, this or one of the community schools. With the American Red Cross, we have MOUs, or Memorandum of Understandings, and surveys and agreements with Lake Orion High School and Lake Orion Middle School. We are now looking at another school that's nearby and this facility, and making sure it's ADA compliant and has the facility needs such as parking, restrooms, and space and stuff like that needed for an evacuation center. And I'm here to tell you this is one of the best centers I've seen in a long time. Protective actions, what businesses need to be prepared for, what individual citizens and groups need to be prepared for, is not try to be prepared for a tsunami or an earthquake or tornado, whatever, is be prepared to whether you need to stay or go. And to share and react to information, that situational awareness. I'm here to tell you, when you get the severe thunderstorm warning for northern Oakland County, and it's in effect till 8 o'clock, it's time to go inside, seek a sturdy structure away from windows. Not time to get ice cream and continue business. But 99% of Oakland County and Southeast Michigan citizens will do that. They will continue to cook out and play baseball, and then there's a lightning strike, and I don't want to get into Bob Sith's presentation here, but he's going to talk to you about better safety, everything from generators and gas power generators to lightning safety and all that other stuff. Part of this, whether you stay or go, is to be prepared to have bottled water, to have a generator with diesel fuel and stuff like that stored to ready to go for at least 3 to 5 days. At least 3 to 5 days is what the system says it'll take for us to catch up. Let's say Oakland County was hit by multiple tornadoes, these F3, F2 tornadoes that you see and you have heard about, and it causes widespread damage and casualties and destruction, a whole lot worse than it was here. Multiple jurisdictions would be requesting assistance at the same time, would be using the NIMS, National Incident Management System. The State Emergency Operations Center would be coordinating with the County Emergency Operations Center, and we'd be wanting to find out what you needed here and your immediate impacts as well as your long-term impacts. And you would need the partnership with businesses. The business community would have to help kick in, and the faith-based organizations and volunteer organizations. And I'm here to tell you that your school system and your businesses are what will make the difference, volunteers and things like that. This is just to let you know that there are 11 tornado or outdoor warning sirens in the Orion Township, Lake Orion Village area, and several in the Auburn Hills, Oxford Township area that are right next to you. If they would have been activated, they would have been activated because there's a tornado warning in Oakland County or a tornado likely to occur in Oakland County. There was no tornado Saturday, but it was a severe thunderstorm warning, and the winds were 60 to 65 miles an hour, pushing 70 miles an hour, and that will cause similar damage to an F0 or an F1 tornado. It was only an F0 or an F1 tornado that destroyed Davisburg Elementary School several years ago, actually 2001. I have a lot of bosses, Brooks Patterson, the county executive, George Miller, the director of Health and Human Services, and my boss, the manager of Homeland Security, Ted Quisenberry, who serves as the county emergency management coordinator under Michigan Emergency Management Act, Public Act 390. And we coordinate with the local officials, local elected officials, and the fire chief here, who is listed as the Orion Township Emergency Management Coordinator liaison with our officers. Now, I will stay here for questions and answers after the fact. I'll stay here as long as it takes. Please take advantage of all the handout materials and materials on the back. Go to our website and get a whole lot more materials, download or viewable there. I want to take this opportunity again to thank you and wish you well in your resiliency and recovery from this storm most recently. And be prepared, it's only the beginning of the season, okay? At this time, let me introduce Mel Mayer. He's going to come up and get his PowerPoint slideshow going. So, right. Nell is been with the Oakland County Sheriff Department for 5 years, and he's the chief of Emergency Management and County Communications Center at the Oakland County Sheriff Department. Been there for 5 years, and before that had a command officer career with the Garden City Police Department, and I'm very glad to have him up here to describe the 911 Center and Emergency Communications.
Mike is truly an expert in emergency management. I don't pretend to be an expert. One of the things that I did is I retired from a police department a few years ago. Had an opportunity to work for the Sheriff's Office. Was truly excited. So thank you for this opportunity to continue serving. I have my entire adult life. One of the things I want to tell you is that emergency preparedness doesn't start today. It didn't start yesterday. Hopefully you've been doing this for years. If not, you need to move forward with this. And Mike is really the guy to talk to, and I can tell you what we've been doing at the Sheriff's Office. Sheriff Bouchard has a chain of command also. I work for the Sheriff. I also happen to work for a number of other people that are actually in this room. I actually report to the fire EMS chiefs. I report to the substation commanders. And frankly, Mr. Barnett may call me and say, Mel, we need to make some changes here, and it would happen. But I have 62 dispatchers working for me. They're all trained in emergency medical, fire, and police dispatch. Exciting stuff. We have a full-time quality assurance supervisor. We have 7 command shift leaders and sergeants, and we also have 3 support people so that we can keep our dispatchers focused on taking the calls. We're in a couple places. We're the second largest dispatch center in Michigan. Quite a few communities here, over 20 in Oakland County. Recently, we had an opportunity to partner with Orion Township Fire. Chief Bob Smith came to us and said, what can we do to move us forward with our emergency medical and emergency fire, our life support systems that we provide to the township residents, as well as the businesses, as well as the visitors. Letter there, thanks, Chief. And had I read my email earlier today, I don't know if you can see this. Basically, the chief sent me a nice letter on the job that we did over the storms on the week. I'm going to stop my presentation for a moment here, and I'd like to show you a video. Now, the link for this video is up on oakgov.com/sheriff. Channel 4 came in last summer and said that they wanted to see how our dispatch center works because they'd heard all these things. What is this medical dispatch? What's this police dispatch? What does this mean? About a 4-minute video.
They're the first person called in an emergency.
I've been kidnapped and I've been missing for 10 years and I'm here, I'm free now.
And as we saw in that unbelievable story in Cleveland last week, 911 operators need to be ready to respond to anything and everything. Tonight, a Defender's special report. We're taking you inside one of the most advanced dispatch centers in the state.
Our Karen Drew has this behind-the-scenes look at how local operators are truly saving lives.
What goes on here is unlike any other dispatch center in the state. Why is it so successful? Well, see for yourself.
Units back for shots heard.
You're watching what goes on behind the scenes of the Oakland County Sheriff's Dispatch Center.
This is one of the toughest jobs anyone can have, and it's hard. Not everybody can do this. You're dealing with people at their worst every day.
It's here they dispatch fire, police, and emergency medical crews. The only agency in the state of Michigan that does that.
Having a coordinated response of police, fire, and EMS gives people the best response available.
They take 500,000 calls a year, dispatch about 250,000 runs.
These guys do it. They're heroes.
And serve about 20 different communities.
Shots fired, Rio, shots fired.
When a man barricaded himself inside his West Bloomfield home for hours after killing a police officer, it was a dispatcher inside this center that was solely dedicated to help coordinate emergency response.
We have them sit in a location of safety until we can secure the scene with the police. Then we send in the fire and EMS as needed.
When a police chase crosses city lines, these dispatchers make the chase easier.
And it's a great way
to know what, who's where and what's going on in what particular area.
Lisa Ludwig has been a dispatcher for 8 years.
I think everybody works together really well as a team.
Another reason this center is so successful is because of the protocol system it uses. It may sound basic, but it's a list of questions you must ask depending on the emergency. The computer even prompts the call taker.
When you have different types of situations such as CPR instructions or childbirth or somebody who's choking, you can give those instructions and you can read them to make sure that everybody's reading them the same way and they're giving the correct instructions each time.
Help me, I'm Amanda Berry.
If you recall, when Amanda Berry, who had been kidnapped and held hostage for 10 years, called Cleveland, Ohio 911, this is how she was treated.
Hello?
Yeah, talk to the police when they get there.
Okay, I'm on the way right now.
We're going to start them as soon as we get a car open.
No, I need them now before we get back.
Directors at the Oakland County Sheriff's Dispatch Center say that would never have happened here.
One of the things that we do is we stay on the line with callers until help gets there. That's a caller in danger moment. We're going to ask protocol-based questions where we're saying, look, give us a description of the offender.
Wife is pregnant. It's going to be a red truck first.
Another advancement here that no other center has in the state, they can patch the state radio system and the county radio system so different agencies can communicate.
And when they're coming from different areas, like we have in northern Oakland County, where you have state police working with county sheriff, working with local fire departments, they have different radio systems, but we can bridge them all together.
That, of course, means faster response time.
Sheriff Bouchard saw the value of this about 10 years ago, and he's been phasing this in because it's a very technically proficient program, and it's expensive, but it's worth it for our responders and for our callers to have the best.
This dispatch center is ranking in the 94th percentile.
We stay on the line. We have actually birthed 2 babies in the last 12 months, a boy and a girl, successful deliveries through the protocol-based system.
In the coming months, the dispatch center is making another advancement with adding an emergency police dispatch protocol, all in the hopes of responding even faster.
The Oakland County Sheriff's Dispatch Center continues to receive awards for its performance and achievement. Reporting in Pontiac, I'm Karen Drew, Local 4 Defenders.
Tell you when the defenders call you. Oh, thank you. When the defenders call you and say they want to do a story, that's not a comforting feeling. They're pretty tough. However, this was a good opportunity for us to show what we do. I'm going to catch up here on my presentation for a moment. One of the things, as the handsome man in the video said, is that we have these protocols in place because we know that every situation is different, every situation is unique. 240,000 law enforcement calls, 31,000 medical and fire calls. Gosh, the numbers are staggering. They are staggering. Well, how do you manage that? The way we do it is by using these protocol-based questions. And they showed you a little book, but we actually have it integrated into our computers. Software system that actually is connected. Sent to the chief and his folks through their smartphones is actually Bravo, Delta, Echo calls. These are all these technical things that these guys know what it means. Did quite a few calls last year. We just started emergency police dispatch in September. 10,000 by the end of the year. So we're well over 60 or 70,000 of those calls this year. We're pretty excited about that. As I said in the video, these are protocol-driven systems, and having this to help trigger the calls is what helps us do it quicker for you. So when you call, maybe it's a customer, or if it's someone passing by and you see someone having chest pains, or maybe they've fallen down, one of the questions we're going to ask is going to be, are they changing color? Are they breathing? We're asking these things not to delay help and say, well, just stay on the line and talk to us a little more. We're actually dispatching simultaneously. Giving us gets updated to the chief. Technicians, paramedics, EMTs, etc., medical first responders. You have a lot of folks getting a lot of information. Emergency fire dispatch, that's a little tougher. We're talking about hazardous materials, spills, chemicals. Fires double in size. Help me out, Chief. Every 10 seconds? 20 seconds, thank you. Exactly. So doubling in size every 20 seconds is fairly significant. That means time there's a delay getting a hold of somebody, making calls, it's getting... What we do is we use our fire protocols to determine the structure type, the number of levels, whether it's a contained in a stove, which is a device used for burning food, I understand. But all those things that happen, there are different levels of response that the chief needs to know. Bring a tanker full of water. Do you have hydrants? Those are things that we're to get for them as they're responding so that they can get that stuff started. And police dispatch, well, we have a lot of interesting things going on. An active shooter update school last week. At the same time, a school in Pennsylvania was having a student around assaulting people with a knife. And that's just coincidence. However, those things are going to happen. Not planning for active shooter or active incidents is dumb. We need to plan for these things and we need to be prepared. One of the things that we're doing is we're saying we're to integrate that into our call taking. So when you're calling and you have a problem customer, you have someone in the parking lot who's suspicious, you have someone come into your business perhaps with false ID. We get a lot of ID fraud nowadays because of those kids in the interwebs. One of the things we know that is going on is these are actually very professional rings doing it. They're not just kids sitting at computers. These are money off your good credit. And by using our systems, we're getting help out, the appropriate help out as quickly as possible. Put out in the video, we're doing pretty well. Our score percentages are extremely high. We actually went through and using these ratings, and I can tell you how good we're doing for hours. We're doing fantastic. However, this is a quality assessment. This is something I cannot fake. Doing very well in both EMD, EFD. I didn't put it on here because it was only 3 months worth, but we're well over 90%. Important thing that you need to know is one of the things I learned years ago is customer service. Customer service means you get the customer in, you get the customer out, and hopefully they'll come back. We do the same thing with our callers. We try to handle the call, move forward, get them the help they need, disconnect. 9% of the calls we're getting positive feedback. Work on that 1%, I promise. Are we answering the calls we get? 92% of the calls are answered in under 10 seconds. That's important because seconds count. And I know that when you're calling 911, it seems like it takes forever. Each ring is about 6 seconds. We also do this thing, it's called a national queue. This is because I do tell people, we're doing a great job. The sheriff's office is doing a great job, but we actually have 3,000 random calls chosen by the company to review. And they look at them and say, how are we doing? And that's where we're getting those stats from. Priority dispatch, the important thing is that we can't do this. This is called a horizontal dispatch system, and I'm going to give seconds of dispatch training that you'll save hopefully your whole life. Take the calls at Oakland County's Emergency Operations Dispatch Center. We have a call taker that is on the phone with you. They create a call in a computer that goes to a radio operator who then dispatches either fire or police or medical depending on which console they're working. Potentially you have 3 people working on your call simultaneously. But we do that so that we don't say, hold on a second, I need to dispatch help. Fire department, I'm toning you out. We don't do that. We do it all simultaneous. We keep the caller on the phone. We keep the caller engaged. We're going to get information from you, and we're going to continually update it out to office deputies, Lake Orion Police Department, as well as the Orion Township Fire Department. That's how we make this happen. One of the things that we were talking about in the video was integration with communications plans. Mike Loper and his team are in the same building that I'm in on the campus. We actually work together because the Emergency Operations Center is supported by the Sheriff's Dispatch Center. Part of what our support is, we have a lot of radio equipment. We've got millions of dollars of equipment, But the question is, what happens when somebody from Lapeer has to come over here and help support Orion Fire? What happens when Washington Township comes over here? What happens when we have to go outside the county and help? Can we talk? Back in 2001, you may have heard of this terrible, terrible tragedy that happened on September 11th. What was one of the problems they had? The single biggest problem was they couldn't communicate with each other. They had fire department stations that couldn't talk to each other. They had police that couldn't talk. In Oakland County, right around that time, we had a Wixom shooting at the talk to each other. Talk to each other? That makes no sense. So what we did is we've invested a lot of money into this open sky system. It's the most advanced radio system in Michigan, bar none. The state of Michigan uses a different system, that's okay. They call it the MPSCS, the Public Safety Communications System. We actually have a bridge, a network device that connects both of them together. We can talk to everybody. We can patch everybody. We actually can talk to our federal partners, our local partners, and our state partners. All that stuff is being done right now. One of the things that happened to us recently is yesterday, we had the roof tearing off our building. We had a lot of wind too. I have emergency generators that are tested every Wednesday, and they run for an hour. When's the last time you tested your generators? Well, that was a real test. And hopefully you weren't like my neighbor who pulled out his generator for the first time in 3 years and realized it would not start. The thing that we do at the center is we also have independent backup, independent communications. We call it divergent communications, divergent power. The chief knows what this is. NFPA, the National Fire Protection Association, they have lists and rules and recommendations, books this thick. I purchased one accidentally, and now we've put a lot of money into making I didn't purchase it. But yes, we bought that, and we actually use number 1221, an FPA standard for communication centers, which is the toughest in the United States. My apologies. Very good. I usually get told I talk too loud, so this is good. We actually have custom backup systems that are built just for us, so that in fact, if we lose network connectivity on our 4 sets of redundant trunks, we're still going to have something in-house. We also keep a cache of radios, whether they're control stations, little boxes that use an external antenna, or radios that are handheld. We keep all that stuff in the center. It's ready to go. And we pulled all that stuff out this weekend because we didn't know what was going to happen. When to call 911? I get asked this question all the time. When is the good time to call 911? A good time to call would be if there's a crime in progress. That's simple. Someone's being assaulted, you have a customer that's causing you trouble, someone who's a danger to others, you've been robbed, your car. Those are times that we need to do that. Secondly, this is very important, suspicious activity. We try to prevent crime. Lieutenant Toth has a very active patrol here in the township. Chief Narsh has a very active patrol in the village. They go out and check things, people, vehicles, circumstances. Why are there groups of people hanging around behind a business after hours? You don't like it. I don't like it either. Let us check it out. Call us. Medical or fire emergency, that's easy. You see a fire, call us. Traffic crashes, we appreciate the calls. I know you're going to hear this from some departments that say, hey, look, we already got that call 40 times. Don't call again. But we want your call. We're looking to see if people are hurt. Can you provide us with some more information? We had a lot of crashes and things happen because the lights go out. And luckily, we were getting a lot of good calls saying, look, no one's hurt. It's just a fender bender. Here we have electrical wires and gas leaks. This is a big deal. Electrical lines have such potential for fire, for death. Gas leaks, we had that explosion down in Wayne County not too long ago. Took out a huge store and part of a block. Give us a call. What do we need to know? I have a lot of friends in the real estate. Well, they used to be in real estate. It's coming back. But they said, what's the most important thing we need to know? It's location, location, location. I need to know where you're calling from. I'll explain this in the next slide, but we need to know your location, your phone number, your name, what's going on. One of the things that we do all the time is, what is the address or location of the emergency? Okay, tell me exactly what happened. Go through these questions on every single 911 call. What the heck is this slide? This is about 8 hours of slide, and I'm going to give it to you in just 4 hours. Basically, this slide is showing you something that's been around since 1964. Landline telephone service called Enhanced 911. That record in the upper right-hand corner says street name, address range, response plan, who's going to respond, Orion Fire, Orion deputies. That's a record that was created in 1964, believe it or not, for billing purposes for long distance. That's why we have Enhanced 911. Now, I remember back in '64, this was high tech. Why are we still using it today? We're moving towards next generation technologies. In the next 3 years, this is going to be a thing of the past. But right now, when you call from your business, from your home, if you have a landline, we're going to get some good information. We're going to get your street address, the name, the biller, who's paying the bills, the account name. That's all good stuff, but that's only about 17% of the calls I get. Who doesn't have a cell phone in here? And who doesn't have a smartphone? Oh, a couple of you, yeah, put your hands down. We'll talk. The difference with a cell phone is this. The slide on the left shows there's a handset signaling device, there's GPS positioning, or we use triangulation. This is back from the military days where we had 3 towers and we try to kind of figure out where you're at. This takes time. Every time you call 911 on a cell phone anywhere in Michigan, the first 10 seconds of that call, when I pick it up, it's only giving me what we call phase 1, about 60% of the time. That means I know it's a tower. It could be at the north end of Orion. It could be down here in Auburn Hills. It takes another 10 to 20 seconds for me to get the best information through either the handset GPS, or they call it location services if you look at your smartphone, or they use the telemetry of using 3 towers to pinpoint your location. That takes time. So what did I say in my last slide? Location, location, location. I need to know where you're at. Since 80% of you want to call me on cell phones now, help me out. We have the technology built into our system to now pull every 15 seconds, where are you at? Where are you at? Where are you at? And we send those signals out automatically, so if you're moving, we can see you moving. But it takes a little time, so the most critical time of the call is when you first connect. Tell us where you're calling from. To know that. Lastly, multi-line telephone systems. This is extremely, extremely important to business owners, to schools, municipalities. How many people can pick up from their desk at work, if they work in an office building, call 911, and I get your office number on my system? A lot of you can do it because we've tested with a lot of you. But if you don't think your system can do it, give me a call. We'll set up a test time and date and we'll do it. I'll give you my phone. Multi-line telephone system. We've got some legislation right now pending in the House. It could get to Snyder's desk at some point that says you're going to have some grandfathering in of your old telephone system, but you're going to have to make a change. That's money. They're expensive. There's no question, but this is the type of thing that happened recently where someone was at a hotel and it was a domestic violence situation, so the 9-year-old daughter, who has been trained since she was a little kid to pick up the phone and call 911, couldn't get out because it was 911. Then when she did get out, by accident, they didn't know what room she was in. She didn't know. They knew it was in a hotel with 200 rooms. The mom is dead, the dad is in jail, And we have legislation now on the federal scale saying, why isn't this a law? You have an obligation to your patrons, to the people that use your facilities, to your employees, make it happen. If you're not sure when you should call 911, it's okay, call 911. If you hesitate at any time and you say, should I call? You better be calling. Let us work with you. Tell you a secret. Everybody listening. Call takers that answer your 911 call are the same call takers that take your non-emergency call. They're the same people. They're sitting next to each other. Do it all. If you're in doubt, call 911. We have 22 911 trunks. We haven't used all 22 up simultaneously since the explosion that was out here 10 years ago. So we're doing okay. When in doubt, call 911, please. When should you call our 9-emergency number? This is an important number that you should take down and post in your business. Post at home. This is not the substation phone number. This is not Lieutenant Toth's secret number. This is not Chief Smith's number to his office or one of his stations. This comes into your emergency dispatch center, 248-858-4911. This is to those watching. This is to those in here, this room. That's the number. You're going to call that to make a police report, non-emergency. You're going to request a lockout. You know what? I locked my keys in the car. Guess what? We've got some deputies that are better than car thieves. Request periodic checks. Look, I'm feeling a little weird. Somebody keeps driving through my lot. Can you guys keep an eye on my business? Can you keep an eye on my phone? Absolutely. Request a follow-up. A deputy was out here earlier. We need to make a follow-up to that report. Absolutely. My vehicle got impounded. Could have happened. Thing that I have to tell you is that this dispatch center is state of the art. We've put a lot into it. We've done a lot for you. Part of what we're doing, though, is we're trying to get people to understand the difference between a central dispatch model and maybe what they traditionally thought of sometimes when they're calling a local police department with one dispatcher on duty. Have 12 people on duty on average. 12 dispatchers. I'm not counting myself, the supervisors. I have 12 people that are there to help you get the help you need. The question is, when should you call? You should call when it's an emergency. If it's a non-emergency, this is another secret I'm going to tell you. In this dispatch center, we have a system that's called automatic call distribution. 911 call gets answered at the highest level. That means if there are 3 calls coming in simultaneously, the 911 call gets picked first by the first available call taker automatically. There's no thinking. It's a computer. They work at the speed of computers. And one of the things that we know is that in a storm, such as it happened on Saturday that I was telling the chief and Lieutenant Toth, my biggest problem in dispatch was not loss of power, because we were good to go. It was not communication trunks backing up. We were good to go. We didn't lose towers because we have redundant systems going out to radio systems. It was the 911 calls not getting, it was the alarm calls coming in on this 4911 line from all of your businesses and homes when the power went out. Somebody's breaking in, they cut the power. We had over 100 calls in 3 hours from alarm companies. The secret, though, is they're calling the 4911 number, which gets secondary to the 911. So we answered them when we could because we can see who's calling in. You know what? Sorry, alarm company, we get it. The power's out. So one of the things I have to tell you is when you're in doubt, what number should you call? 911. You have the storm happen again, and it's going to happen. What line is going to get you through the quickest? 911. Lastly, there's a number that's been given out quite a bit. It's 858-4950. I got to ask you, that's only for if you want general information. It goes to a voice system. I know, the dreaded voice system. It goes to that assistant and it says, if you want to talk to records, push 1. If you want to find out who your I'm sorry, if your relative was arrested, press 2. Want to talk to Lieutenant Toth's secretary, press 3. That is a delay. I've heard that number being given out quite a bit. That is not our number to call to report a crime or to get a police deputy, whomever, fire guy to come by and say, hey, I have a burn permit. Call the 4911 number, 858-4911. It's easy to remember. One of the things that Mike talked about was social media. Actually, Supervisor Barnett also did. We use social media. We used it this weekend. We used it yesterday. One of the things is the sheriff has a really cool website on Facebook that's actually Oakland County Sheriff's Office on Facebook. You should subscribe to that. You can actually get some cool information, some updated stuff on what's going on at the Sheriff's Office. We also have something called oakgov.com/subscribe for OakGov delivery. This is an emergency notification system that comes out of my center. People working for me, we put information out, and you can sign up for it, and you can ask for alerts. Heck, you can put our most wanted on there if you want it. That's cool. We could use some help. All that stuff you can subscribe to. We use social media all the time. If you go to the sheriff's homepage, which is oakgov.com/sheriff, you're going to see the video that I showed you. It's on there, as well as all the latest and greatest information. That is updated all the time. And I want to thank you for the opportunity to explain to you how emergency dispatch works. I've given you a lot of information. I will stick around and answer any questions you may have. I have the opportunity and the honor to introduce Lieutenant Toth as your next speaker. Lieutenant Toth has an amazing history with the Sheriff's Office. He's a true leader. I was very excited to hear when he was accepted by the township to be the substation commander. He is a good friend to dispatch. So, and now I'm going to do a song and dance, as you need to, sir. And one of the things we found in dispatch recently with this storm is we needed some help. The good news is we actually had some deputies that used to be dispatchers. We pulled them out of the jail. We said, guess what? You're working in dispatch Saturday night. Next thing we did is we went out and we called people. We have an active call roster that we were able to call in several dispatchers immediately, and then we staffed up extra at the end of the evening just to make sure the cleanup was getting done. I can tell you they take their job very seriously. We like to have a little bit of fun every once in a while, but 911 is a serious business. And your township made a good choice moving forward with some of the things that we do with your fire department. And we're hoping to continue that partnership as we move into advanced life support and things like that with the chief. So again, thank you for the chance to do that. Sir. We call that forced, yeah. I'll tell you what, the good news is the hard thing with dispatch is you have to be trained on the software, you have to be certified by the state. You have to have a lot of things that, you know, yesterday, okay, I'll date myself, but back when I started, and I was a young patrol officer, I remembered that, hey, go in and work in dispatch when you can. It's pretty cool. They have a typewriter, they have a timestamp clock, they got carpeting on the walls, and you push a mic and you can talk, and it's nothing like that. It's all computers. It's computers, it's training, it's certification. There's over 100 lines that come into the sheriff's dispatch. We have over 500 talk groups. 500. When I started, we had 5. And again, Dan, thanks, sir. Good luck.
Thanks, Mel. Appreciate it. Good work, Mel. Good morning, everyone. The whole purpose of this seminar this morning is to reinforce our partnerships and the direction that we're going in Orion Township. I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce, Supervisor Barnett, and the entire board for, you know, making public safety a priority in the township. And you know, technology is advancing like the weather is today. It changes that fast, and it's a big part of what we do. And like Mike Loper had pointed out, this isn't something that we're doing, once a year as a reminder. This is something where we're going to keep our foot on the gas, okay? And we need to do that for an all hazards approach. There's so many different emergencies that we deal with daily and weekly. Weather is just one of them. But I want to pick up. Last year we did this, and we focused on part of it was an active shooter. I want to update you on that. Sheriff Bouchard mandated that the sheriff's office, and he actually put together OTEC training, so the entire county went through, all the police agencies went through active shooter training. And what that does is it reinforces our partnerships. There's not one particular agency or group in our township or throughout the county that can handle all the different types of emergencies that go on. And what the OTEC training did, the active shooter training, we're all trained to the same level. So if we have an incident here in Orion Township, we can get the deputies and the police agencies, our surrounding agencies, Auburn Hills and Oxford, everyone will come here. We all have the same level of training, and you have an awesome response, okay? The type of response that we need, and we've learned. We all see the headlines. We know the issues with mental health these days. That seems to go on daily in the papers. But this morning, what I want to do is focus a little bit on video surveillance. We are using it so much today to combat the bad guys, okay? Whether it's missing children, active shooters, whatever types of crime it is, video surveillance is, we're using it daily. What we can do with these images, 20 years ago, we communicated orally, okay? It was through radios and the police radios, and we had teletypes and things like that. But in today's day and age, we use the media to fan out, because everything is instant with our smartphones, these computers that are on our hips. So we're able to actually grab these images of the bad guys, whether it's vehicles, it's missing children, whatever the type of incident it is, and we can fan it out to the media, and we can engage the entire county or tri-county area to help identify and solve or find the bad guys. So we're using it daily, and I actually have just a couple of quick slides here, and I actually brought in someone who does this daily. He's a consultant for security consultant throughout Michigan and the country. He has some very large contracts, and he's going to highlight some of the details of these systems. But I want to just go through a couple of slides real quick here. Some of these questions, I geared it towards our businesses, but we actually do it every day in the community with our family. Are we taking reasonable and prudent steps to minimize the risk, whether it's in I know we have members, some of our churches here, our schools. And video surveillance is one aspect of that. We talk about the 3 rings of security, and we just went through this at the township hall, and right here in the same building. Our preventive cost of appropriately protecting employees, customers, and business being evaluated. Can you show you took reasonable steps to protect and benefit people first and property second? We're all doing that. The sheriff's office, you all have to consider the cost with training, equipment, but we have to do that risk, benefit, and cost analysis on everything we do. So the whole concept here with security, and we hit on this last year too when we went into the schools, okay? We went and did an analysis of the schools and helped them after the Sandy Hook shootings, okay, reevaluate their security systems. And this 3 rings of security is actually the same thing that the Secret Service uses with the President of the United States. They use it at the White House, throughout the country. It's the same philosophy. But look at it like this. We want to go ahead and utilize, whenever we can, video surveillance on the outside ring, so our parking lots, loading docks, and things like that. The middle ring, vestibules, lobbies, loading docks, and areas that are open to the public. So what we recommended with the schools is, obviously, the video surveillance out in the lot, but what we recommended is that lobby entrance right there, and a lot of the businesses want to evaluate the same things, and a lot of them have this in place. So those areas that are open to the public, okay, that's your second ring of security. And the inner ring, and it's the same thing that the township has gone to, is locking those inside doors. Okay, that's our most valuable asset, just like with the schools. And video surveillance does not take away from that. It's an added layer. I know this is quite, I did bring a handout for any of the businesses that would like some more details on this. I'm going to go right through this. These are some of the things to avoid with video surveillance. The over-reliance. You can't just rely just on the video surveillance. You still need to lock the doors, have a entry-exit system, whether you're signing in the public or your customers. Obviously, privacy, locker rooms, restrooms, things like that are off distance, are out of line. And most importantly, with what we're finding with the cameras, they need to be placed in an area where they can be cleaned and maintained. A lot of the video that we're getting on the crimes, the cameras are just dirty, and it makes it very difficult to make out the images. So, and I'm going to let Tom Bailey. Tom, do you want to come up now? Configuring the cameras, Tom actually sat down with myself and Jeff Stout, with the operations officer with the township, and actually went through what he thought would be the best vantage points for the cameras at the township hall. And we did the same thing with the schools. Go ahead and go to a video here. Anybody notice, uh-oh. On the national news this morning, they highlighted the Boston Marathon, the bombing, and that video that they collected from that was a key factor in identifying those 2 individuals that they subsequently located. But it's used every day, and we highly encourage our business owners and business community to take a second look at that. Today it's very affordable. My first criminal case was in 1994, and we had a sexual predator or a window peeper that was going from motel to motel in Oakland County. And we actually worked with the business owner who set up a handheld, I think it was like a Super 8. Back then it was as big as a mailbox. And, you know, it was a long shot, but that one camera, we were actually able to identify that predator, and he was subsequently convicted. And it's come a long way. So I'm going to turn this over to Tom. I know you do Target stores, the banking industry, and he's also a township resident here in Orion Township.
Thanks, guys. Good morning. Yeah, just want to cover, obviously, highlight the cost. I mean, majority of the time people call us after they had a problem. They wish that they had cameras at the time. Pretty much this day and age, I mean, everybody is going to have cameras in their business. It's a question of when you get them. Do you want to get them before an incident happens, or do you want to wait till after and react to it? Costing standpoint, over the years, this came way down. I mean, they're very affordable to have. And obviously having video evidence, I mean, is what's going to lead to the apprehension of the perpetrator. So with that, the technology, I mean, now we're going to HD cameras. So as technology increases, then the lower technology becomes equal compared to plasma TVs. I mean, what was a $10,000 TV 5-6 years ago is now a $200 TV or a $300 TV. So there's no more affordable aspect. The other is as a business owner, and many of us are small business owners, we have the aspect that we can look in on our business remotely. Once again, back to the smartphones. I mean, they're not going away. We just keep adding apps. So you can view any of the stuff if you're away from the office. Obviously, if we run a small business, we only have a few key employees that might be there. It's nice not necessarily to constantly be bugging the people, but it is nice that once in a while you're able to, rather than call and say, hey, how's it going today, you're able to just look in on the app. You can see the stuff, and you can notice things that happen when you're away from the office much more than when you're there. I mean, there's basically two different types of staffs: the staff when you're there, the staff when you're away. You kind of want them to be the same. So this is just some highlights. This is all video that is actual video. None of this is staged, but it's kind of, you'll see some of the stuff that goes, obviously this is an HD camera, but you'll see as it goes through, because a lot of the stuff you'll see on television and on the news, you'll see different aspects, and you'll be like, man, it's hard to identify that person because it's so grainy. Well, you got to look, there's all different quality levels of it, the same as from your black and white TV set all the way up through your HD TV set. Same thing with cameras. So I'll be around to answer any questions afterwards, but that's pretty much all I really had to cover. So. Yep. Yeah. Without a doubt. Like anybody wants to see it later on my phone, I mean, I can pull up the cameras at my office. Obviously, with a lot of other people in the community, I guess I don't want to let any cats out of the bags, but there's a lot of people in the community that have the same aspect, that they're able to go in, look in on things when there's a problem or a prospective problem. The other is, I mean, you can actually now review the video from your smartphone. So let's say that, for example, I mean, integrated with your alarm system. If you ended up having a possible false alarm, I mean, that alarm goes off 1 o'clock in the morning at your business. What do? I mean, usually you get that call and you're like, oh, well, was it this or was it that? I mean, right now you can just pop open your smartphone, you can pull it up, and you can look and see what happened at that time, see what's going on right now. It saves you a drive to the business, saves you that drive in there. So, and with enhanced verification that's going on now, a lot of the municipalities are getting to where they're going to require that. I mean, it's a coming time that if there's a reported alarm, then more than likely there's going to have to be verification before they'll do a dispatch. And that's one way that that's able to integrate into that. So thanks, guys.
I know that when we upgraded the video surveillance at the Township Hall, there was a lot of concern about privacy and things like that. But overall, it's been a great thing. Everybody feels much safer, and everybody is seeing the same things. And the video surveillance, these are, I just want to emphasize, these are for public places, okay? These are areas that are open to the public. It's not a privacy. They're not installed in break rooms or locker rooms or things like that, but it's another tool to help keep us safe. So with that said, I'm going to introduce Chief Bob Smith with the Orion Township Fire Department. Bob has been in this business for close to 40 years, I believe, 30 years? Okay. And he actually started out with the county and public safety in the dispatch business, and I think he's actually held every position imaginable in the fire service world. So here you go.
Thanks, Sam. Unfortunately, I've been busy all weekend. Obviously, these people haven't, so you're not going to have the benefit of a PowerPoint. I didn't have time to put one together, so I apologize. Few things I want to touch on, weather-related, and if you've been out of town, you didn't know what happened this weekend. If you have been here, you know we got a very significant weather system come through here on Saturday night. First of all, I want to commend the Sheriff Department Communications Center, Mel's people. Without them, it would have been a lot worse. Communications is key for us, being able to get out there. We were stretched to the limit. Unfortunately, this is one of those events when I was not probably able to call on any of my neighboring departments for the mutual aid because they were hammered too. But the men and women of Orion Township Fire Department, I want you all to know that they did a commendable job, and you should be very proud of the people of Orion Township and the fire department, because these people worked straight through from the beginning of that storm and did not go home until late Sunday afternoon, and then we were still running Sunday night and then into yesterday and that. So these people did a phenomenal job. I'm just one cog in this wheel, and it's a very small cog, but these people did a phenomenal job for you, and you should be very proud of the Orion Township Fire Department. Weather, what do you do? That you've heard people talk about watches versus warnings. There was a warning that went out, but it didn't really hit us too quick. Like Chris said, ice cream's more important than watching the weather. So that's what we do a lot of times. We go to the windows, we stand in front, we get out on our back porches and we watch what's going on. Sometimes it catches us off guard. I'm not proud to say this, but I was a squealing little kid that ran downstairs Saturday night with my two animals. I thought that my house was going to collapse. Once I got down there, made one quick phone call to my wife to tell her to get in cover, because like most women, she's out shopping somewhere, and she's at the south end and couldn't figure out what was going on. By the time I made that phone call, that's how quick this weather event went through, and I'm sure all of you realized it. Was able to get back out and actually act like an adult again and go into position and do to get the fire department going. But that did hit really quick, and this is what we have to worry about, and this is what we got to fear about, is these phenomena that come in so quick. A lot of debate. Was it a tornado? Was it straight line winds? I'm not here to debate that today, and guess what? These people that got hit by this, they don't really care at this point in time. They've got problems. What do they do? What do you do when something like this happens? I want to read a definition, and this is what, you know, we're all, like Lieutenant Toth, his people, my people, they're called first responders. Well, let me give you the definition of what Webster calls a first responder. I had it up. Okay. It's a person. Now, it does highlight police officers and EMTs, but it is a person who is among those responsible for going immediately to the scene of an accident or emergency to provide assistance. Believe it or not, people, we all believe that every one of us has a first responder nerve in our body. Look at the Boston bombings. Who jumped into action first? It was the people right there next to the people that got hurt that helped them in that. So they were really the first responders. They were the first ones there. So in a weather-related event, you could be your first responder for your neighbor who's hurt. Their house got hit. They need assistance in that, so you can go over to it until we get there to look in to see what we can do. But once we get there, once we get into action and that, what can you do for us to help us? I'm going to step on Mel's toes here a little bit because he said if you're not sure, call 911. Well, if your French fry order at McDonald's is wrong, that's not the time to call 911. And I'm not making this up. You've seen the news reports where people do stuff like that. But if you do see lines down, if you do see trees into houses, on vehicles and stuff like that, yes, call 911. We're going to come out and assess it. But at that point, we're going to rope it off. That's going to tell you, the citizen, do not go near that line. Do not go near that hazard. I drove around all night, Saturday night, and I could see people standing within 2 to 3 feet of power lines, looking at them, laying on the ground. And I pull up and I said, what are you doing? Well, these lines are down. I said, yeah, I know, get back. When I first got into fire service, I went to Detroit Edison back then, called DTE now, and I went to a class, and I had an instructor there from DTE who had been in the business for 20 years. And you know what his comment to us was? I've been doing this for 20 years. I'm still not sure what that line's going to do when it's laying on the ground. This man's been doing this for 20 years and couldn't give us a good answer. So for you to be standing 2 to 3 feet away from a high line that's down on the ground and looking at it is not a good thing to do. Let me give you a little piece of advice. These power lines and that are generated by circuit breakers that are designed after 16 to 18 minutes to reset, to see if maybe it's just a tree branch that's fell on it. That's why the power was lost. When that thing resets, it regenerates that line and it will snap. Okay, if it's laying on the ground, if it is broke, it shuts off again. Okay, but I have seen lines actually re-energize after so many minutes and jump as high as I am. And if you're standing 2 to 3 feet away from them, that's not a good thing, okay? Stay away from all of that stuff. Don't go near it. Keep your animals away from it. Keep the children away from it. I see kids playing in mud puddles after a storm with lines laying right next to them. And I think we've all learned in school that water is not a good system to be around when we've got energized lines and that. So we got to keep people away from that. What do we do long term? Okay, we're going on our 3rd day right now. There are pamphlets in the back. I wish everybody would grab one. It would tell you what to do. But the most important one that I think is out there for long term, for the 3 or 4 days, it's called Emergency Supply List. It tells you what to do for those 2 or 3 days. How many people in here have got enough water, 1 gallon of water per person per day, sitting in their basement right now? A few. Okay? But everybody should be doing that. And you also got to count if you have animals too, if you have cats, if you have dogs and stuff like that, because now you have to start giving to them too, and it takes away from you. That's just one thing that's in this little list. Food for a few days. You know, canned food and that. Obviously, it's got to be non-perishable and that. You should have that. Battery-powered equipment, ways of charging your phones and stuff like that. If you don't have electricity, my phone, a lot of people have this external battery that actually goes on the phone, so it extends the battery life of this for an extra day or so if you have to. First aid kit. Another thing, whistle. Sounds pretty obscured. Why would I want to whistle? If that tree comes down, collapses onto your house, and we're going around looking into these houses to make sure nobody's in there, and you hear us out there, you can be blowing that whistle. So we know that you're in the basement, your family's down there and that. Moist towelettes, garbage bags, just little things that you wouldn't normally think of. But when you get down in that situation where you're in your basement for a couple, 3 days because of the storm that went through and we're looking for you in that, it's going to help you just make that survival a little bit easier. There's another pamphlet back there called Sheltering in Place. It has a lot of the same information. And I didn't bring the other one up here. There's some other ones back there, but there's also talks about tornadoes and what to do. You want to be in the middle of your house. You want to be in the basement if you can. You don't want to be standing at the windows. how many people have watched newscasts where people are taking pictures with their cell phones of a tornado coming in and are standing at the window? That's why I went to the basement the other night, because being the good first responder I'm supposed to be, I went to look to see if I should be getting ready to go out. By the time I got to the window, it was coming in so hard I thought my windows were going to break. So that's why I grabbed. So that's why I went to the basement. Okay? So I will be here after. I know it's a very quick thing. It's fresh in everybody's mind. I'm sure there's a lot of questions and all that stuff, but I will be in the back after to answer any more questions. But please grab these pamphlets that are back there. It's going to be great information for you. So at this point in time, I think the person who we got to thank the most for putting this together today, I'm going to introduce now Penny Schultz, our clerk. She's the one that is behind this. She was in my office at least 2 or 3 times yesterday. She's very passionate about what went on, and she wanted to make sure this word got out. So, Penny?
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, everyone, for coming today. This is an important topic. I know you've learned a lot. ONTV will rebroadcast this program many times. You can also pick it up on YouTube. Thank you for joining us. I thank our sponsors. I thank Oakland County. I thank Orion Township. I thank our fire chief and our Chamber of Commerce. They've done an outstanding job today. Thank you.